the GameCube is back in the news cycle, as there has been some speculation and some rumors floating out there that we might see this system come to Nintendo Switch Online, as it makes sense, as it would be next in line after the Nintendo 64. And this is all because of Nash Weedle pointing out that there was a trademark that was updated for Nintendo GameCube specifically. And this has a lot of people talking about what the future for Nintendo Switch Online is with Nintendo GameCube specifically. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about what is going on with the GameCube and how Nintendo has handled their GameCube games in the past on Nintendo Switch specifically, to give us an idea of what we might see with this system as far as it goes with Nintendo Switch Online. So what's up, Waluigi? Trent from Trentendo. So today, before we hop into all of this good stuff, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video so you guys are kept up to date with everything going on here at Trentendo. Let's see if we get 20 likes on this. It really does help. I appreciate it. Without further ado, let's just hop right in. Now, first up, as I said, this is coming from Nash Weedle, which again is, we talked about in our one of our previous videos more recently about if or not he is credible. You know, there's some people who speculate that he is more along the Zippo lines, and other people want to put him up closer to Pioro, but not quite at that level, obviously, because no one has even come close to Pioro. So I kind of put I put Nash Weedle here closer probably to that Zippo line. I don't think he's as wishy-washy and as, you know, throwing something at the wall trying to make it stick as Zippo is, but I'm not totally convinced that he is, all his sources, all his stuff out there is legit. So I take everything that he has with more of a grain of salt. Now, the thing that is not, you know, wishy-washy, if you will, is the fact that this trademark really was filed, and it was a German trademark, I believe. It might even have been a patent. I can't even remember exactly. But the whole point of this video is not to talk about what is going on with this, but, you know, there's a lot of people who have been now saying that we could potentially see GameCube to Nintendo Switch Online, which I think logically it makes sense. This is something that we've seen Nintendo do in the past. We started with the NES, they gave us the SNES, then we got the 64 and the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance. So next up really is going to be GameCube. Now, the thing, though, is that, as I said, Nintendo has handled GameCube slightly differently than they have their previous games on the system, and I think that that might play into a factor here as to how they handle GameCube for Nintendo Switch Online, if in fact we do even get it at all. So first up, let's speculate that this thing is coming. We are going to get Nintendo Switch GameCube, or Nintendo GameCube on Nintendo Switch Online. If that really is the case, I do not think this hits Nintendo Switch until the Nintendo Switch 2 is actually out. And at this point, it might even be something, you know, I've heard a lot of people speculate, which would make a lot of sense to me in my opinion as well, that Nintendo holds this system specifically for their next system, being Nintendo Switch 2 or Super Nintendo Switch, whatever you want to call it. And by doing so, this gives people a motivation, a reason to upgrade their hardware and to join Nintendo Switch Online so that they have access to these classic games from the GameCube on their system. And by doing that, it's just another differentiator between the current Switch and their next hardware. So that would be the first thing I think that they do, is if this really is coming, I don't think this hits until sometime after the Switch 2 is already out. And I don't think this will be like, hey, the Switch 2 launches, let's do GameCube right off the bat. I think that they probably will let this play out for a little bit before they begin probably adding in some of those online features to differentiate. I think there'll be some other stuff that they'll be doing behind the scenes. They're going to be waiting to do that type of a thing until after, you know, the system's been out for some time. Not crazy long, but maybe, you know, anywhere from 6 to 8 months or so would be my thought. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Again, this is all just speculation off of my own opinion. I have no inside sources. So that would be my thought on if Nintendo actually decides to go that route and we are getting GameCube games, you know, in a traditional sense, the way that we have been getting 64, Nintendo's Entertainment System, and the Super Nintendo on Switch NSO. Outside of that, though, like I said, Nintendo has handled their GameCube games slightly differently than they have their other systems, which makes me even wonder, you know, should that not be the case, that maybe they do not go the NSO route with GameCube. Maybe they just continue to bring us these ports and remasters. Now, we have seen this already with several GameCube games. So that makes me think maybe they value this GameCube, and maybe we'll see this with the Wii eventually as well. It seems like they value those games more so than they do your 64 and your Super Nintendo and your NES games. Now, whether or not that should be the way they do it or not, that's up for interpretation and debate. But that's just the way that it looks like, as consumers looking to see what they've done. We've gotten several GameCube games on Nintendo Switch already. However, they were sold separately. We got Pikmin 1 and 2. That they kind of came in a bundle. I believe you could buy a physical copy of 1 and 2. You could download it from the eShop. But they brought those games basically over from the GameCube, and they may have been touched up slightly more. But we got Pikmin on there. We've got Metroid Prime Remastered, which is probably the quintessential example in this. We've got a beautiful, excellent version of the game that they totally redid for Nintendo Switch. And we got a nice price on that with $40 a pop. That was a really good deal. The game looked great, but it was a GameCube game, and probably one of their better GameCube games that they brought over and sold separately. Now we're getting Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. This game, probably the best GameCube game on the system in a lot of people's opinions, maybe outside of the Zelda games, or maybe even Melee, but one of the top 5 games easily on Nintendo GameCube. And again, we are getting it at a full $60, sold separately. So the way that Nintendo has kind of handled these GameCube games thus far makes me think, why would they put this on Nintendo Switch Online when they can just sell these things separately from $40 to $60? Now, there's even some discrepancy between the way they've priced this, with Metroid coming in at $40 and Paper Mario coming in at $60, but I digress. This is going to be the Mario versus Samus debate, and of course Mario is going to bring in more money, so they're going to make him more money than it costs to get a Metroid game, which it kind of stinks from a consumer level, because both of these games are great, and they're both GameCube games, so you'd think they'd be priced in line, but they're not. But that being said, like I said, they have sold these things separately, so maybe even that plays into how they bring these games over for NSO. Maybe we go back to more of the eShop of those days, where I can't remember what it was called now, where you could just buy the classic games. I remember buying Paper Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time on the Wii version of the eShop. The Virtual Console, there it is, came back to me. Virtual Console. So I remember buying those games separately. They were like $10 or something, which was really nice. It was cheap, but you got those games on your system. So maybe Nintendo goes back more that way with some of these GameCube titles, where maybe they're a little bit on the cheaper side, but we can purchase them individually rather than paying, for the service. Or maybe they just up the service charge. Maybe now it's more expensive to be a Nintendo Switch Online member and have that new tier. Maybe there's an extra tier above the expansion pack. Maybe it's the whatever they call it. We'll have the first tier, the base tier will be your NES and your SNES. The middle tier is going to be you get everything, and then you get the 64 as well. And then last, maybe you get another tier up that then unlocks GameCube and Wii when they eventually get to that point. So we'll have to wait and see what Nintendo does, but the way that things have been going so far, I do not expect this to be, hey, GameCube was on there for expansion pack members. I feel like this is either going to be, these games are sold separately, or they'll continue to bring these games out as they have with like Pikmin and Metroid and Paper Mario, and we'll get them as individual releases for $40 to $60, maybe less, maybe more. Or we get a entirely new subscription tier for Nintendo Switch Online members that will then unlock some of these games, because we'll have to wait and see, but I think that there's too much money in these GameCube games that people want to see on the current systems that Nintendo's not going to want to leave on the table. And I think that this also, if we go back to even Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, those games are definitely probably going to be coming to Nintendo Switch, it seems. And again, those are GameCube games that will then be probably released for $60 a pop. I don't see those come out as a double pack, unfortunately. But again, it's another simple single release from Nintendo. They're not going to come all in the pack. They're not going to come with Anything else, it's just going to be those games sold separately. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below at this point, though. What do you guys think Nintendo will do with GameCube? Like I said, I personally don't think that this is going to be as cut and dry as some of these other system updates have been. This is going to be something that is going to charge more money, or again, they'll be sold separately. So I'll love to hear your guys' thoughts down below on what you think you see Nintendo doing with this system in particular on Nintendo Switch Online. So hope you guys enjoyed this discussion and this update. Looking forward to getting those comments with you down below. And until next time, catch you later.